I'm Zach.
And I'm Ryan.
And this is After the Midnight,
a podcast dedicated to the band The Midnight.
Each week we take a deep dive into their tracks.
This week we're taking a look at their title track from their debut EP, Days of Thunder.
Definitely there was one moment where we had put up, I finished the EP, we put it out in like early June 2014, and it was just on Bandcamp. And then I had to go home to visit my family in Denmark, and I was in Denmark, and I think it was like a few weeks later or maybe a month later of the release. I had done some videos on the iMovie. I'd never used iMovie before. I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, well, people need to share these songs somehow, and I know they don't really share SoundCloud links on Facebook. They share YouTube videos, and I was like, well, I'll do some music videos. We'll see if I can get away with, stealing some clips from YouTube somewhere. And then with one of the songs, Gloria, I had edited together a music video from clips from Back to the Future. And also, we thought Gloria was going to be the big one, the big sort of, because it was the most pop, like it was a pop tune. And we were like, that's for sure the one that's going to gain traction. And the title track, Days of Thunder, where it was the first time we used Thomas on sax, and he was in LA at the time, and I was like, man, I really want sax on the thing. And we hung out for a day, and he laid down a bunch of like 6 sax, and that ended up became the song that kind of took off.
So you gotta love how homegrown kind of this project is. I mean, here you got Tim, the producer, doesn't even know how to make videos or nothing, but he opens up iMovie on his Mac and goes ahead and finds some clips from car commercials and whatnot from the 80s and just clips them together, puts a song on it, throws it out there, and lo and behold, somebody on the internet finds it, posts it on. There's another interview where he says he posted on Reddit, and it goes to the front page, and the rest is kind of history.
At any point, that's every creative's like dream, is to, you put something out there and then you wake up the next day and it's, got X amount of views or downloads, or, in their case, made the front page of Reddit, and got them a bunch of sales of their EP and just got them in front of a bunch of people. I mean,
yeah,
with synthwave and synthwave artists in general, it's so underground and so anonymous, so to have something like that in front of so many people has got to be a dream come true for those guys. And just, it's just such a homegrown start, such a awesome way to get recognized.
So not only was this kind of the first introduction to a lot of fans, but it was also the first song of theirs that had a saxophone on it, which has kind of become a staple of their sound. And I know a lot of fans really gravitate towards the songs with saxophone, which most of it is done by Thomas, his friend, which he mentioned in that clip, who lives in Denmark and is killer at the sax. I mean, I've listened to a lot of different synthwave projects, a lot of 80s stuff, and the saxophone recording, playing, mixing is just so good in all their stuff, and that really, I think, sets them apart from everybody else that at least tries to do sax.
100%, man. Whenever I, was listening back to it, I listened to it driving today a few times, and that's, I feel like, when I absorb music the best. But I was really just honing in on the sax throughout the song, and man, just the mix of it and everything, it just sounds so good. I mean, there's so much to dissect in this track. I think that between the saxophone and Tyler's vocals and the meaning behind that and all the stuff that we hear a lot of bells and whistles from Tim on the production side. So it's an awesome track. It's definitely, I would say top 3 in my catalog in terms of favorite tracks. I love the song. It stays stuck in my head all the time. Even when we're not, researching this, it's one of my go-to midnight songs. So yeah, I'm really excited to listen to it.
Sweet. Let's jump in then. First off, I think we definitely have to talk about the sample usage there. So many different samples to really tell the story of how this song is going to start off. Sets the mood.
You hear that pulsing bass synth, which is like just a staple when it comes to synthwave. I love that sample, that like A or whatever that is going on, that hits there.
Love is a setting sun, is a smoking gun, is a four-letter word, I hope it hurts. Love is a fatal flaw, is a broken jaw, is a
thing that kind of gets me with this is he ends his verse with "move your hips," which is kind of a little bit out of place, I feel, but it totally fits the song because he says "move your hips," and then the saxophone comes in and it's just killer. City that once was like a dream and a wonder to me, and so big and so magnificent, is now, I think my perspective has changed, and now it's run down, it's dirty, it's not what it used to be, and I think that's just kind of growing up.
It almost reminds me of like some more angsty lyrics from the Midnight, like almost like early 2000s of like emo. In a good way.
Love was a dream to have, was a king-size bed, was an escape plan, was an open hand. Now it's a dog from hell, it's a dream you sell, it's an epitaph, it's a photograph.
I like how the chorus gets cut off there. He doesn't say thunder at the end there. He just jumps right into the next verse. Just an interesting way to go about it.
Totally. One line that has really stuck out to me the last couple times I've listened to it, trying to think of it literal versus metaphorical, is when you lose your wonder and you can't remember. Like that, to me, that is when you go from being a kid to you lose your wonder. I talked earlier about there's like this one shot. It's a vocal shot like pad that Tim's playing, but you can hear it just hit through it cuts through the music so well, and man, just like I'm already grooving, I'm already bobbing my head, but like I catch that every once in a while, and it's like, oh my god, they're just slaying this song.
So if you can hear it very faintly in the background, they still got the chorus going, living in days of thunder. And that far away feel underneath the sax just kills.
To get to the end of that and hear the sax just rip through the mix. Like, that saxophone sounds so hot, but it's never like hurt your ears hot. Like, it's buttery smooth, but it just cuts through with such force and sounds so freaking good, man.
This is my buddy from Denmark. He's an amazing musician. He's called Thomas Edinger, and he's incredible. And I just reached. He was in LA recording for another Danish act that's actually doing quite well in the States at the moment, called Lucas Graham, and they were in the same studio complex as me. And I was like, "Hey, bro." So he was in LA for a couple of days, and we were gonna catch up. And I was like, do you have time to come in and, lay some saxophone down on this track I have? And so we spent a couple of hours trying to come up with, I knew I wanted some kind of saxophone lick there, and I didn't know exactly how it went. So we spent a good while trying to come up with the right lick. And then I just kind of, honestly, the last part where it kind of goes into this solo part, that's just one take. Like, the guy's incredible. So I just did a bunch of takes with him, and then I just took, I think I took one of those takes, and it was just that was a solo, and it sounded incredible.
Yeah, I mean, for the next 4 projects, it's Thomas ripping a saxophone. So yeah, who knows what would have been, if they didn't meet up that day. Would he have reached out to him if he was back in Denmark to have him record more stuff?
It's not an easy instrument to record or to play, and they both made it sound very easy. And this track is so groovy and just so good. And Tyler's lyrics are amazing. These might be, honestly, my favorite lyrics on the EP. I know we still have 2 songs to go, but just that, I don't know, man, the whole, going back to the picture painting that he does, like the whole cityscape that he sets up for this song, and just kind of the idea of, you lose your wonder and you can't remember. It's almost like Peter Pan, kind of, if you think about it, or something, like that whole idea. You just, forget what it's like to be a kid and use your imagination and be in this wondrous place that turns into this, concrete jungle.
Yeah. So is this song related to Lost Boy? Who knows? Maybe. One thing I don't think we've touched on is that, Tim was very much a drummer, growing up, and that was kind of his instrument of choice. And, his influences are like Phil Collins and Toto. And I think you can definitely hear some of those influences in his work, and like these drums and whatnot.
I would 100% agree with that. You can definitely hear that Tim is a drummer here, because I think up to this point on the EP, with the exception of Gloria, this is the most kind of straightforward drums we get. Like, it feels like somebody behind a kit versus like a beat or a 4 on the floor type thing that we heard in the last song, or more of like an electronic feel to the drums. This very much feels like it's somebody, behind the kit, just killing it on those toms. There's not a lot of auxiliary percussion or anything like that going on. I can't say enough good things about this song. I think that if you're listening to this right now and there's somebody who you've been wanting to show the midnight to or something like that, this is a great song to start. This is just I think that it's hard to not move your hips to this song, like Tyler says. I mean, it's hard to sit still to it. It's so good and so groovy, and I love it. I love that this is the first song, that gives us the back half of this EP, and I love the rest of it. I mean, I can't. Then the next song, Kick Drums and Red Wine, has grown to be one of my top songs in terms of production, and I'm looking forward to breaking that down. But yeah, man, feels good to be through this one. I think a lot of fans can relate to this one. I think this song just holds a special place in a lot of Midnight fans' hearts, mine included.
I do want to give a shout out to everybody that's been listening and supporting us and interacting with us on Twitter. We're super stoked to have even one person listening, much less hundreds, so this is awesome.
Absolutely. It's been absolutely incredible. And at the time that we're recording this, we've been live for a week. And the response so far, guys, to the first 2 episodes has been absolutely amazing. Like Ryan said, like we would have been happy with one person. I think that, we did this for ourselves, because we talked, we wanted to take it from hundreds of texts going back and forth, nerding out about the Midnight, to putting it on a platform. And the fact that you guys are listening and interacting with us on Twitter is more than we could have ever thought or hoped for. So we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, we really do this for us, and for us to learn. It forces us to really dig deep into songs, learn about them, really listen, and as much as, I've learned, I hope you guys have learned some stuff too, and it's been entertaining.
And yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have to say about the track. Before we get out of here, though, we do want to give a shout out to our friend Benoit from France. He sent over some thoughts as well on the song, so let's take a listen to that.
Hello there, that's Benoit here from Western France. I really wanted to record myself to talk about Days of Thunder because this song is a little particular for me. I think for a lot of fans that's what it is. Days of Thunder is, I think, one of the perfect package we love about the band. It got this kind of really nostalgic sound, the perfect lyrics from Tyler, of course, especially the chorus. Everybody's shouting at it during the live shows, and that's what's amazing about this song. And also, that was the introduction to the saxophone for the Midnight, and for a lot of people, the saxophone really makes what the Midnight is. And also, what I love about this song is the intro, the engine just switching on. You know that's on that Days of Thunder. When you are in the live show, you know that's the song upcoming. When you are listening to it in your car, you just want to push the accelerator and just go faster. And this upbeating pattern of drums really just makes you to dance as well. So just to finish, I wanted to say a huge shout out to Ryan and Zach for putting up this podcast together. I think it's just perfect. It's really, really nice, and I hope everybody is actually also watching the video, because we put a lot of effort into the montage of the videos as well, and I think it's really, really, really well put together. And finally, I wanted to say thank you to first the Midnight French page on Facebook. They are really lovely people, and you heard one of them into the first episode of this podcast. And also a really, really huge shout out to all the people from the Midnight Discord server, because they are an amazing community, and my month of October last year wouldn't have been the same without any of them. We all worked together to find the enigmas, the solution to the enigmas Tyler and Tim put together, and it was an amazing memory too. So thank you very much.
We're excited to dive into kick drums and red wine next week. Learn about that. I know you're stoked on it, I'm stoked on it.
In prepping for kick drums and red wine, I've learned some really interesting stuff kind of behind the scenes that I'll save for next week, but just about kind of what went into the songwriting process, and there was a lot more to it than kind of meets the eye, so we'll definitely get more into that next week. Peace. Follow us on Twitter.